You want to know how much it costs to make a game, and you want to know how much time it takes to make a game, because a lot of the excuses that are being made nowadays, they smell like bullshit.
Hello humans, and welcome to another episode of Gen X Gamer. That's right, the video game show that is not hosted by an annoying e-beggar. There is no Patreon, no super chats. That's right, we just talk about the games we love and how fun it is to hoard them, collect them. Now, with that said, let's get ready for the show. On today's episode, this show is intended for mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello humans, and welcome to another episode of Gen X Gamer. Today is an info-filled day. Well, what's the exercise today, guys? We're going to find out what it takes to make a game, a casual game, right? Anywhere from 7.5 to 10 hours. How long does it take to develop? How much money are you going to spend in labor, for example? Well, you know, there's a lot of Kickstarters and other companies asking for investments, and I see a lot of people just putting in money out of the goodness of their heart. Maybe they're fans, what have you, but they have zero expectations. They just put it in there and just, you know, maybe when it comes out, it comes out. But what should be the benchmark? What should you be looking for? Well, first let me say that I got this information from somebody in the game industry, somebody that I'm close to, that works on AAA games, and has years of experience and more than one degree in the field. Okay? So I'm getting this from a good source, and I just want to pass the information on to you. So in case you want to invest or look at games or read something and have for you to have a gauge of what the expectations should be on this type of game. Maybe a game like this one. Let's say I want to remake a game like this one. What expectations should you have, right? Well, for these type of games that last those amount of hours, you should be looking at about 300,000, just about, as far as labor on the high side, right? Because the labor for programmers, and here's an average here, and we're going to use the higher one because you're thinking, okay, you're going to use the best programmer available that you can afford. You're not a AAA company, right? But you want to have a good game, so you know you want to pay a fair wage on the high end because you need to have this project done. How long should this project take? It should take about 2 years. For the pandemic, if you want to give, you know, some months, should be no more than 90 days. Most companies have actually seen an increase in productivity. So you're looking at one person, right? Only one individual working on a single game. It should take them 2 years for a game that's anywhere from 7 to 10 hours, okay? And this kind of game here, simple, pick up, entertainment, sort of like the arcade classics that we used to play back in the day, in today's terms. So that gives you a baseline to gauge, you know, these type of games that are going on. Now, if you have more than one person, of course the time is going to be less. But also can reduce it. Let's say you have a game that you already have some voices for, or some assets that you can borrow. Then the time is going to be less. What things can affect, okay, your project to go longer, right? Like we said, the pandemic, but for most people it wasn't more than 90 days. And like I said, productivity has increased because some people prefer working from home rather than going to an office and programming there, right? So you could have quality issues. The quality of the work may be subpar, but since we're using in our imaginary game, we're using a high-end programmer, we're not going to have that. We should be able to get done in 2 years. Now, if you, let's say you take it to another studio and they have a couple of programs working on it, of course it's going to be a lot less. But the pricing changes there, right? Because if you give them 2 years to finish it, you know, they're going to take their time and do it. But if you want something in a rush, it's just like anything else. Oh, you want it sooner? Okay, well, I'm going to charge a little more, right? It's just the free market. It's just the way it works. But if you start running into a project like this, that's a simple game, like I said, 8 to 10 hours, and you start running into 2.5 years, 3 years, now you have to question what's going on. Are you having quality issues? Is the game buggy? Right? Are you having financial issues? right? If you farm the game out to somebody else, they are not going to give you any assets of the game. They're going to show you anything because you're not paying them. You got to show them some of this, and then they'll start showing you parts of the game that are done, right? You actually have to pay people, or they don't like to work for free. So those are things that you have to start questioning. And I know a lot of you have gone into Kickstarters, or maybe you want to invest in a Kickstarter, or funding any other games. Now you have a baseline of what to expect on these type of games. There's a lot of people do it, out of the goodness of their heart. They're, enamored with a franchise or whatever. Well, if you put money down, you should have a certain expectation. You should say, well, if it takes more than 2 years, and I'm sure many of you can think of a lot of Kickstarters that have gone way beyond the 2 years for the amount of gameplay that they have, right? That's where companies run into issues. But I wanted to give you this information so you have a baseline on how to judge when something's going right, and especially when something is going wrong. Tell me, have you seen any games that are taking more than 2 years to make? There's a few. There's a few that I can think of, right? But you guys can do your own due diligence on the games, but now you know what questions to ask, right? You can ask, well, who's working on this game? How much is this guy getting paid? If it's the $50,000 programmer, he's not going to be good as the $140,000 one, right? So there's many factors that can go south on you if you don't follow a controlled process. Now you can start asking questions, as far as quality control, as far as benchmarks, things like that. And people that work in a company should be able to answer them like this. And they should be technical answers, right? So for example, if you ask me, well, what's your process, right? In the industry that I work in, I can recite it to you. I can go da, 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 okay? We do step 1. These are the work instructions. This is what we're supposed to do. These are benchmarks. Quarterly, we do this, yada, yada, yada. When you ask a technical question, the guy's like, well, things are, they start beating around the bush and they start talking about everything else but the game. They start talking about climate change and and how they feel inside and how stressed they are and all that. That's always a bad sign. They need to get to the technicals. If they're not answering those questions properly, let that red flag just start shining on you, man, and think about it before you place your hard-earned money in any Kickstarter of any game that has taken more than 2 years to develop, because they're definitely having problems that they're probably not telling you about. All right, humans, thank you for stopping by. Thank you for liking and subscribing, and I always appreciate all your comments. By the way, always vote. If you don't vote, you can't complain. It's voting today in California. I'll catch you on the next one. Take care.
New videos every Monday and Sunday. Thank you for joining me on another episode of the Gen X Gamer. Remember to like and subscribe, click that notification bell, and remember, never ever be afraid to be happy. I'll catch you on the next one. Take care.